In N8n, webhooks are a powerful way to start a session or a workflow. But how do webhooks really work? Now, uh, so basically, they are the reverse of an API. Now, if you know what an API is, it's when you send a request to a server and it gives you information back. Now, a webhook, you receive the request to start a workflow or to start a workflow, and so it's basically like the opposite of an API. Now, you could send back information to the person that calls the webhook, but we're not gonna talk about that here. Now, how a webhook works is you see this URL and the method. So there are different methods. Get would be receive data from the webhook. Post would be give data to the webhook, and etc. Delete would be delete data, and so forth. Uh, for this, we're just gonna use post, and this URL, which is used to call the webhook. You can use your basic browser to call the webhook, or curl command, or even GitHub or other servers. Now, how these work are you have a webhook that is now listening for events. Now, if I go to a new tab and enter, so GET request, meaning has to be a GET request and not a post request. So GET request, and now if I execute it again and I run the URL, you can see the workflow has started. And if I go back, it has in fact run the workflow. So this is really powerful if you have something like, let's say, GitHub that you want to monitor. And so here what's going on is I'm giving it the payload URL, the one we just used. The JSON is usually the default in N8n. The secret is for more security verifications. Usually you should enable it as it brings more security, and then you can choose what GitHub has to send in the webhook. Now, here I just chose issues. So if I add the webhook and make it active, you will see there's an active webhook, meaning that every time I create an issue, so let's just execute the workflow. Every time I create a new issue, let's say, and create the issue or do anything with issues, then it should call um it should call the webflow, the webhook. So ah oh yes, of course. If you have if you're using GitHub, it's a good idea. You have to use the post method. So if I just redeliver that webhook, then as you can see, it ran, and you got all the information you need about the issue, etc., etc. And this is basically how most webhooks would work, and you wouldn't need much more than this to create a full program. Uh, Thank you for watching.